How do people start these things anyway? Alright, so, welcome to the first episode of TGR Chronicles. This is a series covering the Star Wars roleplay within the Galactic Republic server, where we will take a dive into the different characters, locations, and events that have taken place over the 3 years and more. Some context, by the way. My name is Sam, and I've received the poor fate of running the whole thing. But in light of the work that people have put in, and the stories made, I thought it was high time to showcase the world that has been created. The lineup planned in terms of video topics is kinda weird. Honestly, I just went into RP announcements and asked who wanted their character to be featured. Seemed to work out well, but I'm starting with a ship. Because I'm a nerd. Alright, as a quick disclaimer, the information presented in this video is not fully representative of an actual Star Wars lore, canon to either Lucasfilm or Disney, merely being an alternative roleplay take. There are, of course, many facts, inspiration, and details taken from the actual canon of Star Wars, but the information presented in this video should be taken as fanon and not canon. So yeah, this is a fan-based take on Star Wars. The characters and details from Star Wars are fully owned by Lucasfilm Limited, LLC. So, before we can actually cover the ship that is the Pride of the Corps, I believe some context regarding the Republic at the beginning of the war is important. After the Battle of Geonosis, the Republic wasn't dumb enough to believe that they were on equal footing with the Confederacy. Not only did they possess an overwhelming number of battle droids, but their navy was 4 times larger. Mace Windu reported that. So, the Senate, in response, issued an order for a Super Capital class warship, in anticipation of the Confederacy working on similar projects, which they would later learn was correct with the deployment of the Subjugator class, otherwise known as the Malevolence, and its sister ship. But Mandator 2 implies there was one before, right? The Mandator 1 class Star Dreadnought was the centerpiece of the Kuat Defense Fleet prior to the Clone Wars, a humpbacked warship that received its designation of Dreadnought from the Anaxis War College. Kuat Drive Yards then took the Mandator and opted to create a crown jewel for the Republic fleet to lead it into the Clone Wars, using the old schematics as the foundational design basis. This would result in the conceptualization of the Mandator 2. However, it came with a great many production problems. The Kuati were in full crunch with the Republic's mass order of acclimators after the Battle of Geonosis. Not to mention, KDY was further occupied with the initial production of the Venator-class Star Destroyer, in addition to their stalling joint project in the form of the Victory class. All in all, it was a tough time to be a Mandator. Plus, delays were understandable. After all, the Kuat Drive Yards were working on designs for the coolest goddamn ship ever to be made.
Are you sure about that?
Their efforts, however, were not in vain, with the Mandator 2 sitting at 20 kilometers in length, making it larger than any other ship in the galaxy at the time. Additionally, possessing a 1.25 class hyperdrive, thus being able to speed across the galaxy. Its value, however, came in the form of its armament, equipped with 6,000 heavy turbo lasers, 6,000 heavy ion cannons, 500 proton torpedo tubes, 500 capital ship-grade concussion missile tubes, alongside an extensive point defense laser system. The Mandator 2 could match any naval force at the time of its production, though this was by far balanced by the cost, a whopping 2.95 billion credits. Do you know how many times I could have hired Max Rebo's band if I didn't waste the Republic's credits on this stupid ship? Yeah, like 1.5 million times. That's more than I can hire him now, which is 0. Friggin' Republic Board of Military Finance and Spending. In spite of these setbacks, the first Mandator 2 class Star Dreadnought would finish construction, roughly in November of 22 BBY. I know, the second to last month isn't called November, but we're rounding it out with a Gregorian calendar so the months match up for simplicity's sake. By the way, 22 BBY being before the Battle of Yavin. I think that battle was like in a movie or something, I don't know, I didn't see it. It was dubbed the Pride of the Corps, which may have been a rushed job. I mean, it was ordered to be by the Jedi High Council in preparation for the Second Battle of Kamino. During this second Battle of Camino, the Confederacy were basically winning initially. I mean, this was even after the thermonuclear warhead was detonated in the middle of their fleet, thanks to the efforts of Delta Squad. However, the pride of the Corps hiding behind the Far Moon was soon to change the outcome. With only the starboard side turbo lasers working, the CIS fleet was utterly annihilated, with the Malevolence and only a few ships escaping. The pride of the Corps, though somewhat damaged, had proved to be worth its price. However, fear of losing the supercapital would prevent the Republic from utilizing it to its full potential. Governor Tarkin suggested using it as an intimidation piece, in an early usage of what would later become his Tarkin Doctrine, and this worked for the most part. I mean, the CIS had to pick and choose its battles more carefully, which gave the Republic a huge psychological advantage. This advantage reached such a degree that the Confederacy and the server would produce an entire new line of supercapital ships just to counter the Mandator II. The Pride would act as a home base for Systems Army Alpha, the Systems Army led by Mace Windu. For direct combat, it wouldn't even be used. It would be replaced by 5 distinct heavy cruisers that would act on rotation. Even further into the future, the Pride itself would be replaced as the mobile barracks in favor of the Secura, a ship named after the deceased Jedi. From then, the Pride of the Corps would be rotated to the Coruscant Home Fleet, where it became the linchpin for defending the capital of the Republic. There, it would mostly gather dust, though briefly saw some use towards the middle of 21 BBY, where Master Yoda would take it to the planet of Odessen to deal with some issues occurring around the 3rd System Army. But that's a topic for a future video. From there, the diminutive Jedi Grand Master would take the ship to Dromund Kaas, though sadly both the ship and Master would be too late to help in the 3rd battle that occurred. Currently, the Pride of the Corps can be found once again, defending the heart of the Republic. And that's all I've got on the Pride of the Corps. There were, of course, other Mandator models, and specifically, more Mandator 2s. But perhaps that could be covered later. I hope you all enjoyed this deep dive into a small snapshot of the vast lore that makes up the Galactic Republic roleplay. As I said, we will be covering a lot in this series, but especially the characters of users, be they lore characters or even their own creations. And hell, if you end up participating, you could get an analysis deep dive on your character too. Both the channel and this video will have links to the server and other things, so be sure to take a look. Real quick, by the way, be sure to check out this Smash style Everyone is Here for the server characters I made. It's pretty cool, and hell, it might give you a bit of a preview as to what's to come. Anyway, that's enough from me. The next video is a doozy. Republic Commando, designation 5704, otherwise known as Storm, and the initial journey he took with his unit, the 415th Exploratory Battalion. This is Sam, signing out. See you in the next video, and may the Force be with you.